welcome back to week 2. Last week we looked at the Gospel of Mark, and we saw that it was the first gospel written about 68 to 70. And Mark is writing to an audience in Rome who are undergoing severe persecution. Peter has just been killed in Rome. Paul has just been killed in Rome. Two of the great apostles have been killed, and many of the Christians have also been killed in Rome. The church in Rome is wondering if it's going to survive, and Mark then writes to them about who Jesus is and what it means to be a follower. Jesus is the Messiah precisely because he suffered and died. And to follow that Messiah, you also could expect to suffer and die. In the mid-80s, both Matthew and Luke took up the Gospel of Mark and added some things to it in order to meet the needs of their own audiences. Matthew is a Jew trying to show that Jesus is the Jewish Messiah, the Messiah promised throughout the Old Testament as the Savior of the Jewish people. He's trying to persuade a Jewish audience. Luke is a Gentile. That means a non-Jew. He's a Greek. He's trying to persuade a Greek audience that Jesus is the universal Savior, the prophet, that the whole world has been expecting from all time, and that Jesus then will be the Savior of the whole world. Each then has a different purpose in writing, and so they want to add things to the Gospel of Mark in order to meet the needs of their own audience. Now, besides using the Gospel of Mark, Matthew and Luke also seem to use another source. At times they agree on particular teachings of Jesus, almost word for word. And this seems to indicate that there's some other source out. Scholars call this Qvela. No one has ever seen this source. We don't even know for sure that it exists. But scholars presume that it must exist because where Matthew and Luke seem to agree with each other, there must have been a common source, so they say. Now this week we're going to focus in on Jesus' teachings. That's what's most distinctive to the Gospel of Matthew and Luke as opposed to the Gospel of Mark. Both of them add teachings of Jesus in order to focus in on what their audience needs. In the first assignment, we're going to get used to simply one teaching of Jesus. I want you to watch the video by Tim Keller and write a little summary of it. In the second part of the week, we'll be comparing the differences between Matthew and Luke. The readings are the same as last week, the videos are the same as last week, and the PowerPoint presentation will be the same as last week, except for one thing. I want you to do on each slide a comparison. So you'll have Matthew on one side and Luke on the other, and compare the differences between the two Gospels. I'm looking forward to see what you come up with.